For the second time this season, the Devils have shut out the Rangers. The Rangers are going to need some help if they want any chance of sneaking their way into the playoffs, while the Devils are sitting in a comfortable position. What an entertaining game. We have a lot to break down in today's episode of Locked On Devils. Buckle up, everybody.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Scores! Oh, Steven stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here at the Locked On Network. I'm your host, College Hockey Play announcer, Devils Wire Pucks and Pitchforks, and also part-time credential media member, Trey Matthews. In a matinee matchup at The Rock, the New Jersey Devils shut out the New York Rangers by a score of 4-0. Second time this season that the Devils have shut out the Rangers. They clinched the season series 3-1, and they're also on a 3-game winning streak. Every win, so vital down the stretch of the season. And I've said this before, but the Devils have playoff hockey in their sights. You can almost smell it, and I'm so excited. All right, what's on the agenda for today's episode? In the first segment, I will share my main takeaways from the game. Then in the second segment, I'm going to highlight some players that caught my eye and also list my personal 3 stars of the game. And then in the third and final segment, like I do with every post-game episode recap, I will compare the stats and give the Devils a letter grade. Every win, like I said, is imperative because the Devils have been through a rough stretch of hockey not too long ago, and it seems like they're starting to get their groove back a little bit, and it seems like they've established a new system, if you would. Their playoff odds are now 99.99%. I think it's safe to say that barring anything catastrophic taking place or events that are very, very, very unlikely to happen, I think you can start making plans for the postseason to return to the Prudential Center. I said this in a recent episode. The Devils had a chance to play spoiler to the Rangers because they are desperate, trying to claw their way back into a playoff position. They were the President's Trophy winners last season, and this year has been a big disappointment. It's been a huge step backwards. They traded away their captain, Jacob Trouba. Capo Caco is in Seattle. The Rangers have been through a roller coaster this season. Their playoff odds are 18.7%. To the Rangers' credit, it did seem like that they were turning it around because I remember discussing it on this show a few weeks ago that if the Devils did not get their act together, then don't look now, but teams like the Rangers and Blue Jackets are right on your tail. And lo and behold, the Devils are now in a prime playoff position, and the Rangers are desperately searching for answers. They were talking about this on the ESPN broadcast, but the big thing that's been hurting the Rangers has been their inconsistency because during the month of March and now April, they haven't really been all that consistent. Just a few months back, it seemed like that they were back to their winning ways, but they have fallen off a cliff. But I do like them reuniting with JT Miller. That is my compliment. But we're here to talk about the Devils. The Devils' motto going the rest of the way is defense. Offense sells tickets, but defense wins championships. As we all know, the Devils losing Jack Hughes was definitely a big blow. I even said it that losing Jack Hughes basically ends the season for the Devils. I still anticipated for them to go to the playoffs, but any little chance they had of possibly hoisting a cup, I would say close to zero because Jack plays a huge part in the offense. But the Devils are adapting to their new situation, even after the trade deadline. I know a lot of people wanted the front office to make a splashy move, but the Devils are working with what they got. And Sheldon Keefe talked about how defense is their mindset going the rest of the way, including forechecking, trying to get off to a good start. And this is something that I noticed from the Devils in their last few outings. They've been getting off to pretty good starts. They're still not a good first period team. In fact, I think ESPN brought this up, saying that when it comes to goals scored in the first period, the Devils are one of the bottom tier teams in the league. But in this game, even though they didn't put up a goal in the first period, they still got off to a good start. They were creating chances for themselves. They were putting the Rangers on their toes. And that's what I like to see. I was hoping that they could carry this momentum into the second period, and they did so. It came down to the special teams. They scored on the power play, thanks to Timo Meier, and they scored shorthanded, thanks to Jesper Bratt. That bumped the Devils up to a 2-0 lead, and it seemed like they weren't taking their foot off the gas pedal. Going back to the Rangers' inconsistencies, ever since early March, they've been one of the worst power play teams in the entire league, and the Devils exploited their weakness, capitalizing on the shorthanded goal, because during that span, they've also sacrificed a decent amount of shorthanded goals, and the Devils have been very strong on the power play, and they're playing to their strengths right now. I thought that the Devils losing Dougie Hamilton and Jack Hughes, we would see their power play numbers go down tremendously, but we have not seen that. Their power play is still very strong, and you got to give a lot of credit to Jeremy Colleton and the whole coaching staff for coming together and figuring out what else might work. And what did they do? They put Timo Meier on the first power play unit, and we've seen a different Timo Meier the last few weeks, and I'm going to talk more about this in the second segment. Third period, the Devils put it to bed. Timo Meier, 24th goal scored this season. Nico Hischier got the empty netter. I think Jesper wanted the goal himself, but Hischier was there to finish the job. And phenomenal job by Jacob Markstrom to get his fourth shutout this season. Like I just mentioned, every win is imperative for the Devils. It boosts their confidence, and it just inches them closer to securing a spot in the playoffs. And 99.99% chance of securing themselves a playoff spot, I kind of like those odds, I'm not going to lie. Also, it's a rivalry game. The Hudson River rivalry always does well on television and even in person. You saw a few Ranger fans flee for the exits as soon as Hischier scored the empty netter. All hands on deck for the Devils going down the stretch of the season. Jesper Bratt spoke about it in between periods, talking about the importance of this game. Nico also talked about it post-game. These types of games, they live for, because they're playing spoiler to the Rangers, who are trying to get into a playoff position. The Devils are trying to get into the playoff mentality and playing in front of their home fans. That definitely gives them some energy. And it seems like the Devils are finding a groove. It took them a while, and I think we can all recall to early March and late February where the Devils were kind of spiraling. And in fact, no, we could go back a little further. We could go back to after the Christmas break. The Devils were a little inconsistent, if I'm putting it politely, but knock on wood, I think the Devils are finding their sweet spot. And no, they don't need a torpedo bat in order to do so. Just a little joke to any of my fans who love baseball. I like baseball, but, torpedo bats, I mean, it's legal, I guess. But digressing a little bit, great outing from the Devils from start to finish, and I was very proud of everyone's collective effort. And this is the Devils team that I remember watching before the Christmas break. And ironically, the last team that the Devils played before the Christmas break was, in fact, the Rangers at the Prudential Center. Seemed like the Devils have recaptured that magic just a little bit. All right, I'm going to list some players that caught my eye, including naming my personal 3 stars of the game. But before we continue, let me tell you guys about 5-Hour Energy. I actually love 5-Hour Energy. Daylight savings snuck up on us again. And if you're feeling the lost hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. I've told you guys this story before, but I'll say it again. Whenever I'm on a long car ride or a long plane ride, I need 2 things. I need my podcast playlist and a 5-Hour Energy. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. Okay, let's talk about some players that caught my eye, including naming my personal 3 stars of the game. Before I get into the 3 stars of the game, first, some honorable mentions and something that I haven't done before. I'm going to do a special honorable mention. The first honorable mention goes to Jesper Bratt. He scored the shorthanded goal in the second period. Great move. And I guess he didn't mean to embarrass Shesterkin. It just so happened that he had a lot of speed down the lane and he found the back of the net. And he also got the primary assist on Nico Hischier's empty netter goal. But similar to what I said in the first segment, I think it was by accident. I think Jesper was trying to tuck it in himself. Unfortunately, it just bounced out and Hischier was able to collect the loose change and finish the job. But anyway, 2-point outing for Jesper Bratt. Here's my bold prediction heading into next year. I don't care if Jack Hughes is fully healthy or not. I am picking Jesper Bratt to become the first Devil to reach 100 points in a season. I'm definitely going to talk more about this somewhere down the road, but what I think it comes down to is availability. And Jesper Bratt has been like the Devils' Iron Man the last few years alongside Dawson Mercer. Those 2 players never seem to miss any time for any reason, whether it's injury, scratched, you name it. They're always available to play. And Jesper Bratt, he has really elevated his game ever since Jack Hughes went down with his injury. I'm going to keep saying this until the cows go home. Jesper Bratt is very underrated and deserves more respect. My next honorable mention goes to Seamus Casey. He got the primary assist on Timo Meier's goal in the third period. I put this out on social media, but I said Seamus Casey over Shimo Nemec. And it seems like overwhelmingly people are agreeing with me, saying that they prefer Seamus Casey over Shimo Nemec, but you get a few people who are saying like, no. Shimo Nemec has the potential to become a great 2-way player, and you are right. I'm not trying to say that Shimo Nemec is a bust, but I see more potential in Seamus Casey. He does have a lot of work to do, but if I had to invest in one of those players, I'm investing in Seamus Casey. I think he could do big things, whereas for Shimo Nemec, we saw it towards the end of last season. We're seeing it now. It's just not going according to plan. Like I said, he's not a bust. But if the Devils want to make a splashy move over the offseason, I have no issue including Nemec's name in those discussions. As for Seamus Casey, he continues to make the most of whatever opportunity is thrown his way. Okay, before I name my personal 3 stars of the game, I want to give a special shout out to 3 players. So I guess this is sort of like a bridge from honorable mention to 3 stars. And 2 of these 3 players are, in fact, my 3 stars of the game, but they deserve some extra love for the same reason. Luke Hughes, Timo Meier, Nico Hischier. All of those players have come up big for the Devils, and they're the reason why the Devils are still a legitimate playoff team. They talked about this on the broadcast, but Luke Hughes has had to step up, and not only in the wake of the absence of his brother Jack, but also in wake of the absence of Dougie Hamilton. Luke Hughes has had to hold down the fort when it comes to generating offense on the blue line, and he's done that. He got another assist in this game. He's been racking up a lot of points. He got the primary assist on Timo Meier's power play goal in the second period. I've always said that one of the reasons why Dougie is so valuable on the team is what he's capable of doing on the power play. And now you got Luke Hughes really stepping up his game, 5-on-5 power play. We've already talked about the improvement of his defense earlier this year, but Luke Hughes has really come alive, and the Devils are going to need that come playoff time. Timo Meier, and I'm going to talk more about this momentarily, but Meier from the start of March to now has not slowed down. This is the Timo Meier we like to see. Maybe it's because he's finally playing at his natural position. Maybe it's because he's on the first power play team. I don't really know, but Timo Meier, amazing. This is the Timo Meier we like to see. Nico Hischier, the captain, 35 goals this season. Incredible. Who had that on their bingo card entering this season? We always talk about how great Nico is two-way, but I've said I want him to be more selfish because I want him to shoot. He's capable of scoring. I know it was an empty netter goal, but still, 35 goals is 35 goals. So special shout out to Luke Hughes, Timo Meier, and Nico Hischier, all of them for stepping up their games. The reason I did not include Jesper Bratt is because I expected this from Jesper Bratt. I expected for him to be the main points contributor for the Devils because he's done that all year. No one's just given him the right amount of attention just because it always seems like he's in the shadow of Jack Hughes. 88 points in 77 games played, and we still got 5 games remaining on the docket. I don't think Jesper Bratt's going to reach 100 this year, but I think he can reach 100 next year. We'll see what happens. All right, time for my 3 stars of the game. The 3rd star goes to Jacob Markstrom for recording his 4th shutout this season. He and Jake Allen are tied for 4th most shutouts this year in the league. I know the Devils get shut out a lot themselves. However, they also shut the door on a lot of teams. I believe the Devils have the 2nd most shutouts in the NHL this year, just below the Winnipeg Jets. Jacob Markstrom, welcome back. I think he's now back for the Devils, and this is what I like to see. This was the Jacob Markstrom we saw prior to the injury. Can't reiterate this enough. Knock on wood. 2nd star goes to Nico Hischier. 3-point performance from the captain. 35th goal. I talked about his empty netter goal and his goal scoring capabilities, but I want to give more credit to his passing as well. This was also talked about ad nauseum during the broadcast, which is Nico was setting up a lot of his teammates. This is what we love to see from Nico. My 1st star goes to Timo Meier. A goal scored in the 2nd period, the power play goal, which was actually the game-winning goal, and then another goal in the 3rd. Timo, he's come alive. Since March 1st, Timo now has 9 goals in his last 17 games. He has 24 goals total this season, which means 37.5% of his goals have been scored during this span. You talk about stepping up your game. Timo Meier is living proof of that because over a quarter of his goals scored this year have come since March 1st, when the Devils needed him most. I know March Madness is still going on in basketball, and Timo Meier is very much alive. Love to see that from Timo time. It's official, ladies and gentlemen. What time is it? It's Timo time, and you need that in the playoffs. I also love Timo's aggression. It seemed like he was giving the Rangers all sorts of fits, and we saw that during the 2023 playoffs. Timo's not afraid to play physical. I love him as a power forward. All right, we're going to compare the stats, give the Devils a letter grade momentarily, but before we continue, let me tell you guys about FanDuel. The NCAA tournament is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. I picked Alabama to win the tournament. Bracket is now officially busted because I had a 99% bracket before Cooper Flagg and company took care of business, but maybe you'll have better luck than me. Visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. And please remember to always gamble responsibly. All right, let's compare the stats, give the Devils a letter grade, and get out of here. It was a great matinee matchup. I wish we did more of that because it was actually refreshing to see the Devils play in the afternoon and then record this episode mid-afternoon, early evening, and then go out with friends later tonight. I kind of like this. All right. Shots on goal differential, 26-16 in favor of the Rangers. Jacob Markstrom had to do what he had to do, and he really stepped up his game. So I got to give a lot of credit to him because the Rangers started to get better as the game progressed. It was a slow start for them, but Devils did a good job keeping them in check, especially when it came to special teams. Speaking of which, Rangers were 0 for 2 on the power play, and they sacrificed a shorthanded goal to Jesper Bratt. Devils were 1 for 2 thanks to Timo Meier. Hits 24-21 in favor of the Rangers. Giveaways 19-13 in favor of the Devils. Takeaways 5-3 in favor of the Rangers. Block shots 11 a pop. Time spent in penalty box 6 apiece. How is Peter Laviolette still the head coach of the Rangers? I'm just curious about that. But anyway, if I had to give the Devils a letter grade, honestly, I'm going to give them an A+ because I don't really have too many complaints for the Devils because they did a good job of keeping the Rangers in check. They came out with a lot of energy. Anytime the Rangers did pester them, the Devils had an answer. Anytime the Rangers went on the power play, the Devils did a good job of killing it, including scoring the shorthanded goal. I love the physicality from both teams. It's a rivalry. It means a lot to both of these franchises. Devils trying to secure themselves a playoff spot, trying to make it officially official. Rangers trying to claw their way back and sneak their way into the wild card. They're going to need some help. I loved it. It was entertaining. Great matinee matchup. Had my popcorn ready. It was great. That's my personal opinion. I'm comfortable giving the Devils an A+. But let me know your thoughts. What did you think of this matchup between the Rangers and the Devils? It's always main event when these two teams go mano-a-mano. Devils are winners of 3 straight. How you feeling at this point? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on podcast streaming service. Hit me up on my personal X-Page app at TreyMatt4 or the show's X-Page app at Locked On Devils. As for today's episode, that's all the time I have for you. Continue to stay safe. Have a wonderful day, New Jersey. Go Devils. I'll catch you guys next episode. Thanks for listening once again.